Electric cars catch fire, the batteries last 5 years max, and then they're done for. No, we're going to do some EV myth busting here. Today we are with Jake from EV Wales.
Hello.
And we're going to explore the reality of electric cars with someone who works on them every day. So first of all, let's talk battery degradation. That is kind of the key one. People are convinced that batteries just die after a few years and are no use whatsoever.
We see it daily when customers come up and looking at vehicles or talking about servicing their car. They don't think their batteries are going to last more than 80,000 miles or 100,000 miles or whichever. Part of our service, we do battery testing on vehicles when they come in. And we've got cars with 150,000 miles still on 80-90% capacity, and in some cases with the Kias 100%.
Wow.
They're still doing 250 miles plus as they did when they came out of the factory.
Amazing.
And still going strong.
So yeah, don't believe everything you see online, and notably none of these cars are on fire either.
No, we haven't seen any of that either.
No.
So, although it happens in the media a lot.
It does, but I think it gets reported a lot.
Yes.
Because they know it's news to say, oh, look at this electric car on fire.
Yeah.
But that fire at was it Luton Airport, destroyed a multi-storey car park?
Yeah.
An electrical fault on a Range Rover that wasn't an EV.
Wasn't anything to do with it.
Yeah.
There's a website called EV Fire Safe. If you look on there, they've got data back from 2010 when the likes of the first Leafs came out.
Oh, wow.
There's been less than 1,000 battery-related fires since records began.
Amazing.
And you think there's, I think, 1,500 cars, petrols and diesel, that go up every year.
Well, quite, exactly.
At least. So
petrol being quite flammable. Yeah.
So yeah, they are far safer than anything else.
Let's look at an EV that is 11 years old and see how it's stacking up. So here we have a Nissan Leaf from 2014, roughly.
Yep.
So 11 years old. If the hype was to be believed, the battery in this must be absolutely ruined. I feel quite nostalgic at this point because the very first video on this channel was a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf just like this. And back then there was no infrastructure at all. I could only test it within a 30-mile radius of home because 60 miles was about all it could do in the winter. So let's see how it is now with your clever little scanner, and we can see what the battery health is and what the range is now 11 years on.
And 97,000 miles.
97,000 miles, that is impressive. Okay, let's interrogate the 97,000 mile Leaf then. So pull off the little cover, that kind of a generic-y sort of a code reader.
Yeah, this is a generic code reader.
Sorry, it's beeping because we've got the door open.
And we can connect to that then, and we can see all of the different cell voltages in the pack. So we've got 14 millivolts difference across all of the cells in the pack, which is absolutely fine. Anything under 20 is okay. Start going over that, you might see some degradation loss on your range.
Yeah.
But we've got a state of health there of 87.08%.
Oh gosh, yeah, right there at the top, struggling to focus on it.
Which for its age and mileage is perfectly healthy. No reason to change it. No reason to do any work on that pack. And you can see there 97,320 or 340 miles.
Brilliant. So what sort of range do you think it has now compared to when it was new?
So realistically, we would say 50-60 miles.
Okay. So not a million miles from where it was when it was brand new.
When it was brand new, you might have got 70, 80 maybe.
In the summer.
Yeah. But yeah, 50, 60 is generically what we see with the 24 kilowatt hours. And again, that degradation isn't going to drop off the cliff or completely fail at any point. It's a steady degradation. All around, it's still got 11 of the 12 health bars that it has on the front there.
Oh yeah, it's a bit low at the moment because it hasn't been used for a while. This one has been in for some work.
Yeah.
But not the work you might expect. It wasn't in for anything battery related.
Nothing battery related. It's been in to have a subframe changed on the front as the edges of that had just started to corrode to a point that it wasn't safe anymore. A couple of holes in it. So we've replaced that with a used part that from a newer vehicle and undersealed all of that. So it should be good to go for another 10 years. Good.
So it could be good value for someone.
And you do have the option with these to upgrade the battery if you do want an older car and you can put the 62 kilowatt hour battery in, so you could give it 200 miles of range if you wanted to.
My gosh.
So
is that physically the same size of battery pack?
So the 60 is slightly deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of suspension modifications you need to do just to carry the weight. But other than that, it fits in the same space.
Yeah, and what sort of figure are you looking at for an increase of battery?
So the actual packs are between 2,000 and 3,000.
Not the 8,000 to 10,000 people think they are.
Not the 8,000 to 10,000. That would be a pack from a low mileage vehicle, and then it's less than 500 quid to do the job, really, usually.
Wow.
So we've done a few battery upgrades on Zoes as well that people want to extend the range. So it's a viable option.
Probably worth having a conversation generally about what actually goes wrong on EVs, because it's not what people expect.
No.
So Jake here also works on the cars. It's not just selling EVs. So I'm intrigued to know, what is it that actually goes wrong on EVs? What do they need fixing?
See a lot of suspension components going. Teslas suffer from bush failures on a lot of the suspension, especially the rear suspension.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the weight. I think they're just not always ideally built, if you like. We do see some bigger faults with inverters and chargers and things like that, where circuitry component has failed.
Yeah, Zoe seem to suffer a little from that, I think.
Zoe's, we've had a couple of chargers fail. There's a thermistor in the charge plug, and that fails and stops it charging. It's, I don't know, £400, I think, something like that, for a new socket from Renault. Mm-hmm. We can repair it with a 20 pence new thermistor and put it back in again. And it's one of the things I love. People are saying, oh, well, electric cars, there's no one who looks after it. We've been waiting for the aftermarket to come along. People like Jake are out there and know their way around these vehicles. You've done all the training. Yeah, you've done a lot of learning yourself from owning EVs as well. I've done EV Masters course, level 4 trained technician in EV. And just physically working on them and just learning about them. I'm passionate about them and trying to keep them going for as little as possible, really, and maintain them sustainably. Is the biggest thing, really. We don't really want to be putting brand new components in for thousands of pounds if we can help it.
Yeah.
So things like that thermistor. We've repaired chargers on old Mitsubishis with, again, a 20 pence capacitor and things like that. There's often a simple fault that's caused a big issue. Yeah,
well, you had a Tesla Model S in recently with what was that? It just completely died.
Owner came, drove across a junction. He said he went over a bump, and then it just died, lost all power. He got it recovered to us, and we found the main high voltage fuse in the pack had blown, simply down to the fact that it was 10, 11 years old. It done 120 odd thousand miles. Gosh. And the fuse had just worn slightly and blown at a lower rate than it should have. So we replaced that with the newer version, which is controlled by the car with the pyro fuses. So that now, again, shouldn't see any issues with that. The rest of the battery was healthy, didn't have any cell voltage issues, even at that age and mileage.
So it would be easy to think, oh no, the battery pack's dead. Yeah. It's all broken. But again, just a relatively small part.
Again, a couple of months ago we had a Kia in. It had some wiring faults within the pack, some connectors that had gone loose, and the main BMS was throwing a fault that we couldn't get rid of. So we replaced the BMS, and the car worked perfectly. Blimey. Again, that had done 105,000 miles, 100% state of health on the battery, and it was down to a £150 BMS component in the end.
So I guess some of this, you are literally going around with a voltmeter.
There's a lot of testing and working from diagrams, and in a lot of cases building our own diagrams with the likes of Hevra to help find out how some of these things work, because some of the manufacturers aren't great at giving us
information. Is that an overall body for the market?
So Hybrid and Electric Vehicle Repair Alliance. So they're a group of members across the country, worldwide actually, who are fixing these cars day in, day out, and we share knowledge between the group. So we can understand and fix them better, easier, cheaper,
brilliant,
more sustainably.
So why is this Hyundai got the body? So what's up with this one?
This one we see quite a lot. 12-volt battery failures. Unlike a normal car where you crank the engine, you get a slow start and you'll know, oh, my battery's going flat. with EVs, they'll keep going because you haven't got that surge of power needed to start it until it literally just, the components just stop and there's no voltage for the circuitry to power up. So it's a really common thing, and I guess we test it on our services to make sure the battery is healthy, to try and stop people from having breakdowns with it, because it's difficult to tell when that's going to happen otherwise. Yeah,
hard to predict. But yeah, just in case you don't know, 12-volt battery is in all EVs and powers lights, wipers, all the sort of ancillary stuff that you're kind of used to on a normal car. There is still a 12-volt system that is charged from the battery. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So we just pulled the top cover off so we can actually look what is in an EV engine bay. I must admit, I don't really know, but my first assumption would be, well, this must be the motor, but no. No,
the motor is only this big, buried underneath all of that. So you've got high voltage cables here going in from your charge port at the front. You've got a junction box here which also controls some of the charging, and your inverter module there, an onboard charger. You've got the inverter underneath, the charger on the top, which sorts all your DC and AC charging out. Your motor is buried underneath. You've got obviously aircon components for all the battery cooling and the cabin cooling and heating, and then we've got brake fluid, coolant in this one, and your 12-volt battery, and the rest of it.
It's worth talking about the battery cooling, because something like the Nissan Leaf wasn't particularly advanced when it came to battery temperature management, but the stuff like the Hyundais and the Kias seem a lot better in that regard, which makes the battery last longer again.
It was one of the shortfalls with the Leaf that they didn't put the battery cooling in, which they did in the Nissan ENV200s. It just meant on longer journeys, if you're on a motorway, the battery gets a bit hotter because it's under constant load, and then you go and rapid charge it, which gets it hotter again. It then starts throttling your power and your charge currents, and it's not ideal for longer journeys. Absolutely fine on a day-to-day basis, you'll never ever get it hot really, but on those longer journeys it can limit it, and it's when you get that heat in the battery pack that the battery's getting hotter and it doesn't like, that's when you lose capacity and lose life on the battery then.
Another slightly dirty car, but this is your courtesy car.
This is our courtesy car. It goes out almost every day.
Yeah, so it's a Renault Zoe, what is it, 2017?
2017.
And how many miles has it done?
It's 152,000, just under 800, so nearly 153,000 miles. It's come down from Scotland, I think, this one, so it did have a journey down here, but it still goes. As I said, it goes out nearly every day. It still does between 100 and 120 miles range.
Blimey.
It's the 40 kilowatt hour battery, so the older shape. And last time I tested the capacity, which wasn't that long ago, it was on 80% state of health, which I'm not going to argue about.
So even with 80%, you can still comfortably get over 100 miles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And I was using this as my daily car for a while. I was going Aberystwyth with Command and everywhere in it.
The thing is, a lot of people only think of the long journeys they ever do. And yeah, sure, every time I've done a long journey, there's been some hassle with rapid charging, but most people are just pottering around locally. They're not doing huge miles. You're probably not getting the oil warm in your conventional car.
No.
So electric makes so much sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes it a lot easier.
Cool. Right, we've got to finish because this is instantly going out on a courtesy loan. So yeah, fascinating. That's a lot of miles. Right, let's look at some actual EV components. What have we got here?
So these are a few bits from an I-Pace. We worked on a couple earlier on in the year, and I've kept the old units just for reference. So we've got the onboard charger. These are one of the battery modules, and then we've got the BECM, which is the control for the battery pack. So in here we've got contactors to turn the power on and off, and fuses for protecting the circuits.
Okay, let's bring you in for a closer look.
This one, we've had one of the fuses out of it, and for the drive unit. These ones are for the climate. And then we've got the contactor packs here for turning the power on and off. We had an I-Pace which had, one of these had failed and it had blown the fuse. So this unit has actually come out of a battery that was stripped to build a solar battery for energy storage. Which
is something that can happen with your batteries once they come out the car.
Something that can happen, and I do on the side. So yeah, this was spare parts, and we managed to utilise them to repair the other car that we had in. These are the battery modules, and you've got nominal 11 volts on these.
How many of those in the car?
You've got 37 of those to make up the 90 kilowatt hour battery pack. Some of them do suffer with failures on the early cars, but again, you can strip the pack, replace the module, put it back together, and all is well. It doesn't have to be a new battery pack. And then this was an onboard charger. We have seen quite a few of these fail. This particular one, we had a bit of corrosion on the circuit board, and it kind of burnt and failed. Wasn't much we could do to save that board, unfortunately, but we sourced a good second-hand one from a low mileage vehicle and repaired the car. I think the unit was in the region of £400. It wasn't a majorly costly repair.
Well, no, you can spend a lot more than that on a conventional car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a Zoe in on the ramp. What is the Zoe in for today?
So this is in for annual inspection. It's a B service, a minor service, this one. So it's a visual inspection of everything. We remove all the wheels, making sure the brakes aren't binding. We see a lot of rear brakes binding on EVs in general.
Oh, just because they're not getting the use?
Just because they don't get used. They tend to stick in the calipers.
Yeah.
So
I was just saying, not because the car's not being used, that's because you've got the regen braking, but is effectively using the motor as a brake to put power into the battery.
Yeah, so we just see pads sticking in the calipers, so we strip the calipers down, clean everything up, making sure it's all working smoothly. We go through all the levels, brake fluid checks, coolant check, screen wash, silly things like that. We also do 12-volt battery tests, as we talked about earlier. They're common problems. We'll do the main high voltage battery test as well, and we'll go through the diagnostics and plug it in and making sure there's no faults on the car that's going to cause any issues. And the general bits then, lights, wipers, and we'll go underneath for suspension components as well.
So it's kind of like an ordinary car, but you haven't got to do filthy engine oil.
Exactly, yeah. An ordinary service, there's, on a normal car service, it's the same checks plus an oil and filter. So it's the same sort of thing.
How often do you have to do like coolant changes on these?
Each manufacturer is slightly different. They tend to be around the kind of 4-year mark that the coolant gets changed. Some of them are 10 years. It depends on the vehicle. So
yeah, and is it the same sort of coolant as a conventional car, or is it a different mix?
Yeah, pretty much. Some of the cars are slightly different. The Kia and the Hyundai have their own special coolant because it's non-conductive because of the way the batteries are made up. But yeah, generally it's similar sort of thing.
Brilliant.
We also go around all the high voltage wiring and low voltage wiring, making sure everything's still in place, intact. There's no corrosion on any of the wires, because we see a lot of faults like that where wires have pulled apart or corroded or things like that.
We can lead
maybe
you to
not
think
on these, but
lead you to think there's a much bigger problem than there actually is.
Exactly. And just give the vehicle a general health check, making sure everything's working as it should.
Super.
Some vehicles are annually, some are biannually, so it, again, depends on the vehicle.
I don't know if you've had enough in yet, but obviously talking of brakes, the ID3 has gone back to drum brakes.
Yes.
On the back.
Yeah, there's a few vehicles.
Have you found whether that's any better or not? There must be a reason they've chosen to go that route.
I would say the reason is probably because they don't need the power for braking like you do in a normal car. You've got the motor to give you that braking as much as anything, which on the ID vehicles is rear wheel drive on those drum brakes. So they do, they're not going to suffer from corrosion quite as much, and I don't know, it's 50 of one, 50 of the other, really, whether they're better or worse.
Because one of the amusing things that people are like, people are literally grasping at anything to hate on EVs these days. And one of the things is that, they're so heavy, so they wear tyres out and wear brakes out much more quickly than any other car.
No, they don't tend to. The tyre thing comes from EVs have generally got more torque. So if you're using that torque and pulling away faster, you're going to shred your tyres faster. And that's obviously seen. Front to rear wheel drive vehicles, you can tell which way around they are sometimes because people are pushing them.
But there's also, I think, the case for some of the bigger SUVs, probably wear the tyres and brakes out just as much as a big conventionally powered car. The thing is, Land Rover Discovery is weighing 2 tons. They've got
exactly.
No bit of EV in them.
There's no real reason why they should degrade any faster if you're driving it normally.
So in terms of reliability, are you finding they have sort of broader appeal than just people wanting them as private transport?
Yeah, so obviously you've got thousands less things to go wrong. Don't need to go through cam belts and all the rest of it that you have on a
Dual
petrol.
mass flywheels.
Everything that can go wrong or cause issues on petrols and diesels. We've got a local holiday park, Bluestone in Narberth, who have had 30 vehicles off us.
Wow.
They've replaced all but I think 2 of their diesel fleet that they had, which were giving them no end of trouble. DPFs blocking up, clutches going, gearboxes going because they were only ever in first or reverse. No end of trouble. They were breaking down all the time. And we've supplied them over the last 4 years, vehicles every year, and I believe they've got more to come next year.
Wow.
And they've had a fleet of Nissan ENV200s, they've got a few Kangoos, they've got a Nissan Leaf, and they're all working fantastically.
Perfect sense for a holiday park. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're nice and quiet as well, so you're not disturbing people.
They're quiet around the park. They've been reliable. They've not had any major faults with them, and saved them a fortune in the long run.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Maintaining all of these diesel vehicles and less time where vehicles are in the workshop. So it's really, it's made a big difference to them.
Yeah, but I mean, we talk about reliability. There are issues. The Zoes can have motor issues, I believe, but nothing major.
They can have a couple of motor issues, there's bearing issues. And, there are issues here and there with motor failures. Some of the Kia and Hyundai vehicles suffer a bearing failure on those motors. Nothing detrimental, nothing that can't be repaired. And there's more and more garages like us who are working together to find easy and better solutions for repairing these to keep them going. So yeah, there's nothing really that we can't fix. And although if you go to a main dealer, they might say, oh yeah, that needs a new battery and it's a stupid amount of money. In reality, there's a component within that battery that's failed.
Well, I mean,
the entire battery.
This is not an EV thing only, is it? The main dealers are always going to just go, we're just going to replace that big thing.
Yeah.
We're not going to fault find, we're not going to try and replace the small thing.
Yeah.
It's just easier for us to charge you loads of money to replace the big thing.
Yeah, a good example was one we did a year or so ago, Renault Kangoo 2013. It died on the customer driving along, broke down, got it recovered to Renault. And they said, it's a problem with the battery. It's £22,000 plus VAT.
Ooh.
And on a £3,000 van, you're just not going to do that.
No.
So we brought it into us and we had a look around, we tested a load of things, and eventually we found it was down to the main pins on the connection into the battery that had corroded and moved so that they weren't making contact, and that's all it was. It just wasn't delivering the power out. So we repaired the connector, replaced it, and it's been working since.
That's just crazy.
That was a £40 connector. Admittedly, there was a bit of labour on it, but it's,
But it's also a crazy price for a battery pack as well, 22 grand.
The trouble, that was an old battery pack that I don't even think was available anymore. So if he had said yes, I don't even know whether he would have ever got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the main dealers, and it's not their fault, they've been given parameters where they just got to replace an entire module or whatever, and they're not allowed to delve in to repair it like we can in the aftermarket.
Yeah. A new way of tinkering, just as when onboard diagnostics came in and everyone was crying then, oh, you can't fix it with a hammer and a spanner, but it's just a different way of doing things.
It's just a new mentality, and you're not getting oily, you're looking at electrics.
Yeah, brilliant.
And you'll notice we're touching the car and we're not getting shocked either.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting electrocuted. Yeah, obviously there must be precautions you take when you're working on them.
When we're working on the high voltage batteries, yes. But it's funny when you're being trained, you're trained on how to deal with these things safely, and often half of the insulated tools and the insulated gloves aren't necessary, because as long as you've made that pack dead, you're safe to work on it. Now there are cases, and certainly when you're pulling out modules, that you need the high voltage things, and in certain cases, but majority of the time you're working safely to make sure that you never get a shock in the first place.
Yeah, it's not like a conventional car. You can put stuff across the battery terminals. That gets quite exciting. Petrol fires. Or, working on cars is inherently a bit dangerous anyway. So it's just a different kind of careful.
Different way of doing it.
Yeah, brilliant. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of myth busting here at EV Wales. I found it absolutely fascinating. It's worth pointing out one of his side projects is taking car batteries and using them to build stacks for solar energy at home. So you can power your house by batteries that were in an electric car and now don't need to be. So that's another nonsense that the batteries are unrecyclable and unusable after they've been in the car. They can have a very long life after they've been powering a car down the road. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. Huge thanks to Jake here at EV Wales. Got a big presence on Facebook if you want to go and see what he gets up to on a daily basis, and you can see what cars he has for sale. But yeah, thank you for watching. We'll see you in a future video. Farewell.